I think like gender inequality in general is quite systemic and subtle. And I'll be honest in saying that, you know, earlier in my career, I either dismissed it or kind of let it slide. But more recently, during the capital raise process for Brandcrush, I had to say there was quite obvious examples of gender bias. For example, I'm the CEO and the founder of Brandcrush, and in the early investor meetings, investors would always direct questions to my co-founder, Matt. It was almost comical if it wasn't such a real issue. But yeah, it's something that I've recognised more now than I did earlier. So, yeah.
I guess coming into venture capital, where we do have such an overrepresentation of capital that goes, or funding that goes to not just male founders, but also, you know, Australian-born, private educated, certain socioeconomic backgrounds, certain sexuality. You know, that was where it really became clear from a professional perspective that there was disparity. When we sit down with women founders and hear their stories, there are stories that are so shocking that they jolt our sense of reality. You know, I've seen through my wife's experience, and she's a very highly accomplished professional, of stories of being asked to make tea.
I started my career in investment banking and management consulting, and I actually feel like it was way worse then than in business. When I was 25 and I was the most senior person that walked into a meeting, I'd often get assumed to be the youngest person or the most junior person in the room, making coffee or taking notes, or and then you're just clawing your way back from there. You're just like working way harder to gain the trust of the audience, and like working way harder to earn the reputation that really wouldn't have been as hard if that stereotype didn't exist.
I did a lot of public speaking in medical conferences. In my area of expertise, it would be topical vitamins or the impact of certain ingredients on the skin. I would get up on stage and for the first 5 minutes, I didn't feel like I was being taken seriously in many cases. At the end of it, I'd be given some very complex questions. And I think just as a person, not even as necessarily a woman, but as a person, I was proving myself. Then, even though the skincare and makeup industry is very female industry, it was very male dominated. And most of the scientists who are formulators were men. And I'm thinking, hang on, I'm a female. I'm a cosmetic chemist. I really understand what women need. And I started to write down all these ideas on a sheet of paper about what I could do for this industry. That was the start of me being a true feminist entrepreneur. It was a really exciting start for me.
I learned to code when I was 5 years old, and I loved it. I absolutely just enjoyed everything to do with computers and technology. I was the first girl at my high school to enter computer programming competition, and I majored in computer science in my high school years. But in year 10, I had a teacher who was teaching a computer science unit. And I put all my heart and my soul into making this beautiful website, pre-MySpace, but it looked like it was covered in glitter and all those wonderful things that a 16-year-old girl would want to put into a website. And at the end of that class, he said to me, "Oh, you get a pass minus," which was nearly a fail. And I said to him, why did you nearly fail me on this? And he said, "Well, your website doesn't look like everyone else's in the class, so it must be wrong."
So I remember one time walking into a networking event. It was quite a large conference, and there was probably about 600 people there. And walking into the room, it was just really clear to me it was just 90 to 95% all men. I remember speaking to one person, and he asked me what I did, and I said, "Oh, I run a cupcake business." And he's like, "Oh, is that like a cupcake hobby of yours?" Yeah, I just felt really dismissed at that point, and I didn't feel as though I really belonged. It was really one of those moments where I realised, wow, I've got to change this. I don't want anyone to ever feel that they're not good enough to be in a room.